Morning, everyone. So our Prime Minister did a little bit of a talk on climate change. Let's take a look at the video, and we're going to talk about it afterwards.
It's unfortunate to see that there are still political parties in this country that refuse to accept that climate change is real and think we should be doing far less to fight climate change. That kind of short-term thinking is doing nothing but punishing Canadians, particularly future generations.
So there we go. That's our illustrious Prime Minister talking about as far as climate change. He's talking about as far as the political parties. Now, let's get into this, shall we? First of all, the Conservative parties have never denied that climate change is real. They just don't believe that taxing Canadians is going to change the weather, is going to have any kind of an impact on climate change. You know, we need real solutions to climate change. Carbon capture does that. As far as, sending our clean energy over to countries that are far more polluting, like China, India, those kind of things. That's going to have an impact on the overall environment. This whole let's just throw another tax on a tax doesn't change anything. All it does is just make people poorer and make the government richer. Now, the second point that he talked about is the fact is, short-sightedness. Let's take a look at this Liberal government and what they've done as far as short-sightedness. They've talked about as far as, we have this we have this target that we're aiming for as far as 2030. They said during the Paris Accord that they were going to meet all these targets. Did they meet any of those targets? No. They talked about as far as planting 2 billion trees. Are they even close to hitting that target? No. This is a government that makes a lot of, announcements. They sound good on paper. But as far as short-sightedness, this is a government that doesn't know how to be able to implement and actually carry out any promises that they make. So short-sightedness is basically Liberal government. It's full of it. Take clean water, First Nations, planting trees, the Paris Accord, the Oslo Accord. It just goes on and on and on. This government makes a lot of announcements, but they're unable to be able to carry through. And all we have is broken promises, one after another. Now, let's look at the last point as far as hurting Canadians, punishing Canadians. Carbon tax, what does that do? How does that impact the environment? Are our emissions lower? No. So the carbon tax, what does that do? All that does is everything costs more. Food, gas, heating your homes, everything. Everything costs more. That is punishing Canadians. This is a government that basically says, hey, we're going to blame the grocery stores for the fact that your food costs are higher. Carbon tax has been raised 3 times. We now have a tax on a tax. That's how ridiculous this has gotten. You know that when you go to fill up your car, is a few years ago you filled up your car, $50. You fill up your car nowadays, you're lucky to be getting away with $100, $120. And God forbid that you own a pickup truck because, you're paying through the nose right now. And so yeah, this government, for him to come out with this pompous thing saying, we have all these climate change deniers and they're short-sighted and they're punishing Canadians. How are the Conservatives punishing Canadians? They're not in power. Who is the only party that's in power right now, and which party is actually propping them up? It's the Liberals and the NDP. The prices that you're experiencing right now when you go to the grocery store, when you fill up your vehicle, or this wintertime when you're going to have to pay for your heating bills, that's all because of the Liberals. They are responsible for this. So, let's get our shit together. If we want to do something for the environment, let's actually do something for the environment. Don't make all these rosy promises and then try to deflect and blame everybody else. If we want to have an impact, let's get our energy sector going. Let's send our clean energy over to Europe so that we can stop Putin from financing Ukraine. Let's send our clean energy over to China instead of the Liberals sending fucking coal over there, which is what they're doing right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know, we have this plan here in Canada as far as we have targets for 2030 and 2035. Meanwhile, we're sending coal to China, and their targets aren't going to be till 2050, 2060. It makes absolutely no sense. You know, this government, I tell you, it just every time I think of the policies and everything that they're putting on paper and they're trying to implement, it makes absolutely no sense at all. That is short sightedness. Anyhow, have a good day, guys. Sorry for the rant, but had to get this off my chest. Take care.